For the most part, when we think of K-pop idol groups, they're either a boy group or a girl group. But apart from the sex of the members, what are the key differences between the two? And does that lead to issues we should be more aware of? Hi, I'm Rappler Entertainment Editor Margie De Leon, and in this episode of Hello to Hallyu, Rappler's roundtable talk show on Korean pop culture, two of Rappler's biggest K-pop stans share how sex and gender factor into the K-pop idol machine. So, hi, welcome to our two very serious K-pop stans, Isa Abad from the Lifestyle and Entertainment team, and Russ from the Digicoms team.
Hi.
Ready na ba kayo magbakbakan?
Feeling ko pag debate ko matatalo ko as a boy group.
Okay, sige. Let's get right to it. So, for each of you, do you consider yourself more of like a girl group stan or a boy group stan? Anyone?
Sige, I can start first. Sige. Ayan na. Sige. I guess for me, like, given the amount of groups that I stan at the moment, I could really perfectly say that I am a girl group stan. Although I do casually listen to some boy groups, I really feel like girl group stan ako kasi the quality of the music that they always give, and like especially from the tracks to the music video and everything, parang mas bet ko talaga sa kanila. Even the choreography. Kaya like most of like my top groups in for example, Twice, Red Velvet, Luna, aespa, they really are my top because they really know how to give top-notch performances, and their albums are usually very catchy, but they still are enough to like gain my attention and like in a more meaningful manner. Ganun.
You can really tell how passionate Ross is. Like, ang dami na niyang dahilan. Wala, isa pa lang yung tanong ko. Ikaw, Isa?
Crush ko lang po kasi sila. Yun na yun.
Kaya boy group sila.
More of a boy group stan talaga ako ever since. Parang I started with second generation boy groups, Super Junior, EXO, ganun. Hanggang recently, I came across like third generation idols, 17, ganun. Although I do listen naman, I do listen to girl groups naman. It's just like easier for me to like parang sundan yung mga activities ng boy groups when it comes to like their variety shows, their concert performances, so ganun. In terms of why, kasi crush ko nga po sila. Like, pero maganda naman yung performances. I make sure naman na yung mga groups na sinasign ko, boy groups na sinasign ko, but like, I could relate to their songs, like I like their sound, ganun.
Okay. So yeah, so both of you mentioned like you like both their sounds and their concepts. So those are things that K-pop fans always go for, diba? Pero are there any like noticeable differences between yung mga sound and concept ng mga girl groups versus boy groups? May napansin ba kayo?
Sige. Ako ulit. I guess really like since given that I'm really most of a girl group stan, really there's much more variety I guess in girl group, especially like with the different concepts they give. As ever since yung mga second gen, for example, you have Girls' Generation doing more of the bubblegum pop, and then they transition to more mature concepts. Usually, when groups mature more talaga, it's really noticeable more in the girl groups. Kasi, for example, you see Twice, they were more bubblegum pop, more cheery, more for that younger audience when they had their initial tracks like Cheer Up, TT, Likey. That was like the Twice that really made me love them. And then once they transitioned, they really matured more into fancy, feel special, scientists, and even their recent comeback. It really shows like their maturity as artists, but also like how I think it's really the maturity, but then they still kept their sound. But it's like their sound is still there. Whatever the core essence is still there. Kaya I really feel that girl groups are like much more coherent in concept, and also like they also introduce different concepts. For example, you have ITZY with the teen crush concept, Wacky Meki and ITZY with the teen crush concept. You have Blackpink revolutionizing the girl crush concept, which I honestly think really what really helped form the sound of the fortune right now, especially both girl group and boy group, which is more gritty, which is more gritty, more noisy in a way, more experimental noisy. So I guess like the versatility of girl groups also. And I think if I remember in an episode then I think Sina Krista mentioned about Luna then about how choreography then although boy groups I would admit have more detailed choreography and more, it's more detailed, it's more impactful. Girl groups really kasi focus more on yung mga point dance nila. Like they really um accentuate the point dance, I guess. But then yung mga girl groups talaga in the dance, there's like more girl groups that have been more careful about that, like putting it to the details. Espa, Luna, and other groups. So the quality is really there talaga for girl groups. Like, as a, parang nagde-defend ako, pero that's how I really feel.
And you, Isa, how do you feel? Ba't ka nakasimangot?
Hindi, I think Ross kasi mentioned na everything. Especially like for 2022, feeling ko mas lamang talaga yung girl groups ngayon kaysa sa releases ng boy groups. More than kasi the themes and the concepts, I feel like kasi both genders naman usually like have their variety of concepts. Usually some of them go for like fresh, innocent, bubbly vibes. Tapos sometimes parang may rite of passage na everyone would go on to the more dark, to more mature or darker concept. Tapos, ayun, just like what Ross mentioned kasi, most often than not, mas kilala yung boy groups when it comes to their detailed choreographies. Pero when it comes to sound, mas gusto ko rin talaga yung female K-pop groups. Especially when it comes to like solo releases. Ang ganda-ganda ng female releases natin for this year. Wow natin, K-pop idol. Tapos, ayun, I guess when it comes to like themes lang, parang in the recent years, mas may pagka-social commentary yung themes ng boy group songs, which I think I'll discuss later. Kasi most often than not, mas involved sila when it comes to like the production process ng music nila.
Okay, that's a really important point to bring up, actually. Sige, let's discuss that a little bit more later. Actually, like from an outsider's perspective, like ako, I'm not like super into the world. Pero parang medyo tama nga yung sinabi ni Russ na when I think of a girl group, parang I can delineate each one according to what their gimmick is. Parang like for example sa Espa, parang I know that they're like the AI Chupa Chuva. May tama ba? Tapos, for example, sa Mamamoo, which is my favorite, like, they're more of like the jazzy girl group, like traditional girl group thing. Pero when I think of like, I don't know, Atiz or ano mga iba, NCT, parang, parang hindi ko sila hindi ko masabi na parang, parang sino sila? Like, what's their thing? Parang, ang alam ko lang mga lalaki lang sila at marami sila. Yun. So, yun. So let's get into yung how entertainment companies actually handle like ayun parang nag-rub na ng hands favorite topic na ni Isa to. Yan. Kasi there actually does seem to be a difference between how these companies treat girl groups and boy groups. So, sige, Isa, let's start with you. Like, anong napansin mo?
This is coming from me as a K-pop boy group stan, ha? Kasi parang dun ko talaga mas nakita na bakit ganito yung treatment when it comes to like girl groups. And like just for the record, what we're gonna say is like mainly a critic to the system, to the agencies, and not necessarily an attack to the other groups that we're gonna mention alongside the girl group. So like, for example, kapag sinasabi kong Red Velvet deserves better treatment, hindi ako nagsasabi na hindi na dapat maayos yung treatment with their other groups under SM Entertainment. So, ayun lang, just in case like we ma-atake kami or anything like that. Hindi siya competition between any K-pop groups, but more of like kung paano siya hinahandle ng mga agencies nila. Kasi, ayun, I think isang best example dito yung SM Entertainment. Ang dami kasi nilang groups, like, ang dami nilang girl groups and boy groups din. Pero, when it comes to handling their groups, sobrang makikita mo yung difference na parang sometimes their boy groups have different comebacks. Parang ilang comebacks every year. Tapos, minsan, for the fans, naging running joke na siya na parang, nasan yung Red Velvet? Kasi walang masyadong nangyayari. Na parang, kaya naman yung ibang groups nakakapag world tour, concert tour, solo ganito, solo ganyan, pero hindi mo siya makakita sa girl groups. In fact, when it comes to merchandises pa lang, parang yung girl groups ng SM Entertainment, ang tagal before sila nagkaroon ng light stick, ng fandom name, ng fandom color, as compared to dun sa mga nauna pang boy groups nila, nagkaroon na agad ng mga ganong stuff. Which I think some fans might think na parang, that's bare minimum. Ay parang ano lang siya, na parang ang liit namang bagay niyan. Pero that's the bare minimum that the agencies could do for their talent. So bakit hindi siya magawang ayusin? Also, as I've mentioned kanina, I feel like it looks like na mas madaming male idols ang may freedom and control when it comes to like producing or being involved to their music production. In fact, based sa COMCA, yung Copyright Association nila, based sa list nila like January 2022 ata. Sila kasi nagbibigay ng right, ay parang nililistan nila yung mga artists na may rights under their name, producing, writing rights under their name. Tapos, based dun sa list na yon, out of the top 100, around 15 to 20 lang yung female idols. So it just shows na ang daming, mas marami talaga yung male idols na mas involved when it comes to producing, writing their music. Also, yun, I feel like kasi agencies don't think na mas profitable or mas lucrative yung boy groups as compared to girl groups. Kasi ayun, when it comes to merchandises, their album releases, medyo nililimitahan yung girl groups. In fact, I remember twice, yung K-pop group Twice, sila yung first foreign female idol na parang nag-make history na may sold-out concert sa Japan's Tokyo Dome. Before them, ang dami ng K-pop male acts na nagpe-perform doon. Ito think na inabot tayong 2022 para magkaroon ng isang female idol female idol group na magkaroon ng concert for that one. Di ba parang it just goes to show na hindi masyadong nag-risk yung mga agencies to invest on concerts like that. Kung based naman sa success ng Twice, sa other girl groups, di ba? Parang if they only like risk or like subukan lang nila. I feel like ang dami rin naman kasing supporters talaga ng female idol groups. So either way, they would always generate income rin naman. Wait lang. Ano pa ba? When it comes to yun lang ata.
Okay, thank you, Isa. Actually, napansin ko, 'di ba yung Blackpink pang recently nagkaka developments uli sa new single, new album, new concert. Parang napansin ko na yung mga fans when that news came out, yung reactionless parang at last. Parang tagal-tagal na namin naghintay. So is that like parang indicative of what you said? Na parang tagal-tagal before
For me, Blackpink tsaka Red Velvet talaga yung main examples ng girl groups na hindi masyadong nabibigyan ng exposure. Kasi if i-compare mo siya sa, pinakita naman ng Twice na pwede siya mangyari. Like, Twice is so active and it's so successful. Para sa akin, if only the agencies of both Blackpink and Red Velvet give them the exposure that they need, diba? They would be as popular and as successful as other girl groups then.
Right. So it's really all about the management talaga has to make some changes. How about you, Russ? How do you feel about that?
I think a lot of it has been said na by Isa, pero it's not just isolated to SM Entertainment, but it actually does happen to all entertainment companies. YG, SM, JYP, and HYBE are actually, I just want to say, like, they tend to like overwork the girl groups while undercompensating them. There's also other examples of like girl groups outside of the big four that have been, when given very wrong treatment talaga, or like not being given the proper promotions. So one of them is CLC. Na after the explosion of popularity of G Idol in 2018, when they debuted with Latata, they just forgot about CLC. Yeah, they may have repackaged them with Hobgoblin, Black Dress, and all of that to show their maturity, but then they didn't give the proper resources to to give them that proper spotlight of what they deserve, even if they've been getting increased international attention. And it's frustrating about like how now the group disbanded like slowly by slowly, starting with Sina LP. And then you also have newer groups like Kepler. Na you would think, okay, they came from a survival show, Girls Planet 999. It's a big show, it's Mnet. They're gonna go all out, just like they did with Sina IOI, Eyes One, 101, X1, but not really. Like their agency has been prioritizing their brother group instead of Kepler. Like you see yung music video set nila, very bare. Yung dorm nila is very basic. Like for a girl group that sold like around more than like 200,000 albums, like hindi nila deserve to sa akin. Also regarding like yung artistic freedom na sinabi ni Isa, even if like girl groups do produce, you would hardly see like girl groups make producing for the title tracks. Like maybe the exceptions you would see sina XC of WJSN, Ellie of EXID, but then yung mga iba, puro mga B tracks lang sila pinoproduce and they write the lyric for the title tracks. Not the title track, I mean the B-side tracks of the albums. So for example, you see Twice, sina Jiho, sina Dahyun, they write the B-sides of the track and medyo maganda sila pakinggan. Or yung Eyes One, you have Japanese members Honda Hitomi, Miyawaki Sakura, like and Konandi like writing those songs, but again, not title songs. So it really goes to show, and they really overwork these groups talaga, yung mga girl groups more than boy groups. And for me also, it's also that fact. Sabi ni Isa na parang it's much more profitable. Companies tend to think it's more profitable for boy groups. I don't blame them on din, especially given the explosive success of BTS, for example, and the worldwide success of BTS, NCT in the US. But then, really, these girl groups really show that they can be a huge success talaga, and they can garner as much fans. So I just really don't get it talaga. Like, there's a lot of mistreatment talaga, especially from the big four.
Yeah. Well, I've read up on. I mean, until now, Korean culture is it's a bit sexist pa. Like mas talagang tingin pa rin nila talaga sa mga babae is like you have to parang take care of them with the kid gloves as opposed to, 'di ba, mga lalaki na parang they can do whatever they want. Pero parang there seems to be like they're a bit more judgmental towards women, at least from what I've read. So we can actually get into that a little bit later. So, but let's go first to the fans. Yung mga fans ng mga boy groups and girl groups, like, is there a difference between them? May nakikita ba kayong difference din? Isa?
Personally, kasi what I think aside from the the whole system and then the management, sobrang nakadepende rin malaking factor yung fans when it comes to like the perpetuation of the gender discrimination in the industry. I just feel like fans tend to give more leeway to male idols as compared to female idols. Na parang with the way how fans regard idols, parang it makes it more like male idols can get away with more things as compared to female idols. Simulan na natin sa dating scandal, for example. Usually, it's the female idols that usually get attacked by the fans. Kasi parang kasalanan ni ate mo girl na naging jowa niya si kuya mo guy. Parang, bakit? Which is like, ewan ko, it's laging mas madaming hate lang talaga lagi si ate mo girl na idol. Ayun. Tapos, when it comes to like beauty standards, I feel like mas mataas yung regard ng mga fans sa female idols na kesyong dapat may prototype ka, dapat you fit the K-pop look. In fact, mama mo, di ba, parang they opened up na several times na parang lagi raw sila na-atake kasi hindi sila parang as to what most female idols look like. Parang ganun yung usually ina-atake sa kanila ng mga fans. Tapos, may narinigan kasi akong podcast ng, like, it's a podcast by, like, a group of idols. Tapos, ang alam ko nandun was, like, B2B Spaniel, Cards BM, tapos si Ashley Choi ng girl group na Ladies Code. Tapos si ate Ashley from the girl group, nagsabi siya, nagabi raw yung beauty standards sa kanila. Na parang, isa sa mga usually inataka sila na parang, kapag hindi maganda yung niece mo, pinagsabihan raw siya ng gano'n. Like, your niece, how could it not be beautiful? Tapos, parang lagi sila sasabihin na parang magkaroon ng mga ganitong operation sa mukha or ganyan. Tapos nagulat yung mga male idols kasi although they do have a pressure na parang dapat to look good, it's not as bad as what female idols undergo too. Tapos, isa pang, aside from like the beauty standards, usually yung mga fans din, laging inaatake yung mga female idols kapag resting beach face. Sila Blackpink's Jennie, si Crystal, parang laging nasasabihan kapag it's either they're not smiling or like parang bored lang sila. Parang lagi sasabihin na they're cold, they're rude, they're diva. Pero kapag yung mga male idols naman yung hindi nakangiti, parang wow, cool, gwapo kayo. Parang, bakit? Parang it's just, grabe yung double standards ng mga fans mismo. Tapos, I guess, ang pinaka-kinaiinisan ko lang when it comes to how the fans treat both female and male idol groups is that usually when it comes to the success of the female idol groups, lagi siyang dinadownplay ng fans. Parang kapag naging successful ang isang male idol group, it's because they're talented, because they're hardworking, because they worked hard for it. Pero kapag female idols, sila lagi sasabihin na, most of the time, ang laging sinasabi is, kasi maganda, kasi connected raw sa ganitong agency, kasi may mga ganito, ganyan, na parang, why can't female idols just be successful on their own? Ayun lang.
Ayun. I can sense your anger. I can sense your absolute fury at this situation. And I totally get it. Actually, like, yes, it's so stereotypical, diba? It's such a, well, to be fair, like, parang, this is something that happens in all entertainment spheres, even outside of K-pop. Pero siguro, like, it's kind of very seen, particularly in K-pop, because yun nga, because nadidelineate talaga yung most hoops between boys and girls. Tapos, naalala ko lang sa resting bitch face, diba? Parang, my favorite sa Mamamoo is Wasa, and she has like the most bitchiest resting bitch face of all the bitch faces. So ayun. And they've also had like a lot of weight issues. I saw this video recently of like a fan asking Wasa, parang, how do you stay so thin? And then she went out of her way to say, like, just eat, just eat, like, don't listen to any advice. I actually remember reading an article about yung thinspo movement among K-pop K-pop fans. Like, what they go out of their way to like look into yung exercise regimen and yung diet regimen ng mga idols nila, and they really they monitor din yung thinness ng mga idols nila. They get upset or panic when somebody gets like just an inch thicker or whatever. So as in sobrang I can see how girl group fandoms can be more focused on yung physicality and sexuality ng mga idols nila. Ayun. How about you, Russ? Like, as mismong member, mismong girl group fan, like, what have you observed?
I think a lot of things have been said naman by Isa, but then most especially the downplaying of yung mga girl groups by especially boy group fans or like even their fellow girl group fans. Sobrang grabe talaga. Like, they always talk about sales, they always talk about the impact they have on the industry, but then especially in like award season talaga, it really is very kind of annoying talaga to hear that kasi every single one of these groups work hard, and to downplay their success just like sometimes when you see it on Twitter, like yung mga trends nila to like downplay, it's just like you just shake your head and you just are like, no, this is not it. Like, stop it. Why are you putting this online? Like, this is like the hard work of like so many people, then not just the members themselves. But then I also do empathize then with boy group stands because the culture also with boy group stands. So if the girl group stands really is more judgmental towards weight, towards really beauty standards, the boy group stands, there's a lot of stalkers among their fans talaga, which usually we call sasaengs. They would usually like go anywhere, the airport, the hotel. They would literally buy a hotel. They would buy a flight ticket. They would buy a hotel room just to see their idols up close without like any concern of their privacy. And that's something that also concerns me. Then, kasi it also just falls upon the reputation of the group and its fans also, and to see them just breaching that, and even having some boy group members like tell them, please stop, like this is our lives, and like let us live, like it's kind of very sad in the first place, but then ayun, I think a lot of them have been mentioned by Isa na.
Yeah. And of course, like, let's not forget na, yun nga, parang yung itsura din ng mga boy groups are really police then, of course. Like, di ba, parang they also have to look a particular way then, di ba? So, ayun. So this entire conversation actually begs the question, like, are there groups that are a mix of boys and girls? Like, Isa, I know that there are like a few, I think.
Yeah, there's a few naman. As far as like 2000s, may mga nag-exist na rin namang co-ed groups. Unfortunately, hindi sila like masyadong successful as compared to like single gender groups. I think recently, ang isa sa mga pinakakilalang co-ed group is CARD. Parang nag-debut sila 2017 and they're still active now. Pero kasi with the other co-ed groups, sometimes they usually disband. I remember there's this group na ang tinatawag ay co-ed school. I think they were around 2010 ata nag-debut. Tapos, instead of continuing as a co-ed group, they formed into two groups, Speed, tapos Five Dolls. Tapos, mas nag-continue na lang sila as like a boy group na Speed and a girl group na Five Dolls. Tapos doon, mas naging successful sila. Honestly kasi, wala ako masyadong na-follow hindi ko masyadong like, pina-follow yung mga co-ed groups. Kasi konti nga lang sila. Although I do listen to CARD naman. Pero when it comes to like day-to-day activities, hindi ako medyo familiar. Pero kasi, what I've noticed during the time na parang I was getting to know them naman, when it comes to like the fans, parang wala silang problema when it comes to like the female members are like interacting with boy group members. Kasi obviously, they're from the same group. Pero kasi usually, yun yung isa sa mga issue ng fans most of the time. Na para kapag may nakikita silang female idols na nag-interact sa boy group idols, para minsan nagagawa ng issue or yung mga ganon. So, hindi siya common sa co-ed groups. Kasi nga, mag-group pa sila. I guess yun, for me kasi, ang isang factor kung bakit hindi siya madalas mangyari is, di ba may enlistment kasi when it comes to like the guy members to male idols. So, hindi ko alam kung paano magiging sistema niya kung halimbawa may isang co-ed group tapos may ilang male idols na nag-enlist sa military. Ito think na ilang years din yun, 2 years na hindi sila magiging active. So, I guess ang mayayari na is like magko-continue na lang sila as like a female group, ganun. So yeah, I'm not really familiar with the whole dynamics. Pero it exists naman.
Gets. Like, and I mean, the stereotype, diba, sa K-pop is like, you're not allowed to date, or parang you're not allowed to show that you're dating or whatever. So, imagine mo if there's actually a group na girl and boy, parang just the mere fact na magkasama sila in one, parang like sparks fly or whatever. May stereotype na ganun. It's really interesting that you mentioned yung military enlistment. Kasi, yeah, that's really something that has so greatly affected yung careers ng mga K-pop boy groups. What could possibly be, like for Russ, what could possibly be yung equivalent nun for girl groups? Like, my guess would be like, nagkaroon ba ng time na like nagkaanak yung isa sa kanila or something like that? Parang one of them got pregnant or something like that.
I think may kilala mo close.
Okay, so since
I think
friend mo.
Yeah. I think I could answer that question naman. Pero kasi may couple, para silang idols. Si Laboom. Laboom, tama ba yung Laboom Yulhee? Tapos
yeah,
FT
tama.
FT Island na Minwon. So parang ilan yung anak? I think dalawa na yung anak nila ngayon. Pero when after kasi when she gave birth, hindi na siya masyadong naging active sa industry, si female idol member, si Yuri. Pero nagko-continue pa din naman si Minwon when it comes to like performing with this group. that was what I was gonna point out rin, na parang most of the time when like female idols do get married or do get parang pregnant, parang it's hard for them to continue with their activities. Parang hindi na sila masyadong active when it comes to like doing idol activities as compared to male idols. Parang 'di ba recently ang daming male idols na nagsabi na magpapakasal sila, magkakaanak sila, tapos ganun pa rin, active pa rin sila when it comes to their idol lives.
Yeah. Ikaw, Russ, have you observed anything then na parang about the gender that affects a person's career?
I do want to say the 7-year curse. The 7-year curse, for those who are new to K-pop, is basically idols contracts are usually up to 7 years. As per that's the normal thing. After 7 years, they would have to talk about renegotiation for the contracts. Recently, Mamamoo renewed their contract except for WeIn, but then RBW had a special arrangement. Na they would still be together. Or twice, they are also still together as a group. They were also very shocked with disbandments, katulad ng G-Friend. Now, three of its members became BBC. Why I want to say the 7-year curse? Kasi, I did mention in a previous episode na K-pop tends to be very ageist. So once the maturity of the idol comes talaga, that 7-year period is like a curse talaga. Of course, boy groups have been victims of that curse, but then it happens more to girl groups kasi it's really like some people want to go acting, some people want to go hosting or modeling na. Some people still want to do some people want to do music, but then more sa solo careers nila. Um, Really like that whole image of like the female, then like it became more individualized because people have beauty standards on different members also. For me, that's what I think also, and that's why mas affected yung mga girl groups sa 7-year curse kasi that beauty standard also on the idols does affect the way they want to stay together as a group. Kasi if you have boy groups, marami naman that they still stay together after 7 years. Pinaka oldest nga Shinhwa. They're still active in the industry. Super Junior is also still very active. But then compared to let's say Girls' Generation, like they just came back after 5 years because the members went to acting, some members went to variety, some members like Taeyeon and Hyoyeon just went solo music. So ayun.
Yeah, actually, yung the 7-year curse, it's so good na you mentioned that. It's not just even the beauty the aging thing. It's also the biological clock. Like parang siguro like napapressure din yung mga girl group members like, oh, you have to have a kid na like before you get older. So then it's very, yeah, I can see how limiting that is. Actually, we can talk so much about this topic. Like sobrang ang ganda. Like there's so much I'm learning today. Pero unfortunately, we're down to our last question. How can fans and entertainment agencies be more fair and kinder towards male and female? Like how can we make this more gender inclusive or gender equal? Isa.
Ang hirap. Kasi for me, as someone who grew up with K-pop, nakita mo na talaga na ganun na siya ever since. Parang ang tagal na niyang nangyayari. This has been like an ongoing conversation for so long. Although we could like admit naman na ang dami na ring improvements. But ang lungkot lang na even with the global popularity ng K-pop ngayon, sobrang prevalent pa rin ng gender discrimination when it comes to industry. For me lang, with everything that the idols are going through and with their practice and diba, parang sobrang hirap na maging parte ng industry. The least that the agency, the management, and especially the fans could do is make sure na they're being treated properly. Ayun lang, for me, sana mas pakinggan ng management yung hinaing ng mga fans. It's not, they could like work together to make sure that the artists are getting the promotion that there's the treatment that they deserve. Ayun, I feel like fans also have to change yung pagtingin nila, how they perceive the idols also. Ayun, in the end, I feel like girl groups should be appreciated more with all the bullshit that they're going through. So, ayun, team girl group.
Okay.
Bumaliktad pala.
Oo nga eh. What a
Mali pala.
twist. Gusto ko yung may journey talaga tong episode na 'to. Ikaw, Russ?
I think really like sabi ni Isa, but then also give female idols more opportunities for them to see their potential while they are in the group. For example, producing music. Why don't they produce also title tracks? Kaya naman nila eh. Like G Idol is a very good example of how that is successful. But then and now like aside from Soyeon, other members are also venturing to producing also. Give them that opportunity while it lasts also. And I think so people would think like females are only limited to one industry or something. Give them that opportunity to like give them still that schedule to be able to do their commitments, their acting commitments or variety commitments, but also give them that opportunity to be with the group that they've loved, that they invested over for years, especially during their training days. Because I think giving these women opportunities talaga it would really help in showing their potential that they could be more than just a particular box. I think also K-pop companies should stop seeing their idols as something profitable. They have to see them as individual people with individual talents, with like their own thing to give to the company, to the group, and etc. And maximize it, I guess. I guess really with more boy groups, they have to also protect their boy groups then from I think just giving the boy group also enough capacity to help them like stand up stand up to their fans in case like they are getting too much, especially with sassing fans, and also giving them the right protection will also help them they also help like help boy groups like live their lives in because I think both boy groups and girl groups have their own pressures also, but then I guess giving them those opportunities help talaga. But then I think the top talaga is like stop treating your idols as if something is like stop treating your idols like a profit machine. That's it.
Okay. Yeah, and especially like the mga girl groups, like their package is like empowered women, like they're tough and fierce and whatever. Pero in truth, like, 'di ba, they're not as tough and fierce. Or I mean, they're not given as much agency as they seem. Ayun. And actually, now that you mention it, like I would imagine that one of our succeeding episodes could be about the LGBT scene in K-pop. Now that we're talking about this, kasi parang I feel like that's an entirely different conversation pa. Yeah, 'di ba? Yun. Yung mukha ni Isa says it all. Like parang may ilang paragraphs na siyang na ano naiisip at this moment. Okay, so that was so interesting and so yeah, so interesting and syempre a bit upsetting and I hope if people from the entertainment agencies are for some reason watching this show, pakinggan niyo si Russ at si Isa, please, and of course all the other fans. Okay, so that's it for today's episode of Hello to Hallyu. If you have topics you want us to discuss, like that LGBT thing, or if you just want to see these guys' photo card collections, hit us up at #hello_to_Hallyu. I'm Margie De Leon. Thanks for watching.